Well, surprise, surprise, Gen Z women are leaving the church in droves. It's like a part of me is surprised, but like a part of me isn't surprised. Isn't surprised because it seems as though the trends of liberalism and feminism seem to be taking hold of younger women and driving them away from Christian institutes, you know, more progressively as time goes along. And this trend I've kind of noticed with the boomer generation. I've noticed it with Gen X, my own generation bracket, and I've noticed it amongst millennials, and now I'm noticing it amongst Gen Z. And it's not me alone that's noticing it. It seems like there's an article that I want to talk to you guys about that's actually out there. And this article from Survey Center on American Life says young women are leaving church in unprecedented numbers. Right? So let's get into it. Over the last 2 decades, which witnessed an explosion of religious disaffiliation, it was men more than women who were abandoning their faith commitments. In fact, for as long as we've conducted polls on religion, men have consistently demonstrated lower levels of religious engagement, and especially this was the case, I think, when the institution and the rise of the welfare state, which I think incentivized women to leave, to divorce, to kick their men out of the homes, to arrest their men, or to leave the fathers of their children in favor of being taken care of by government. Also, not only that, but the rise of feminism, and yes, it was liberalism, definitely led to the breakup of the home, men not being in the home, and them also, I guess, feeling, I think, in turn disillusioned that their own churches didn't, I guess, support them enough, or just not feeling as though they should come to church. Men were already on, I think, progressively leaving the church from around the First and Second World Wars, when men were sent to war, men were drafted to war, and when the few of them that came back after World War I and II, it was the women that were in the church. It was the women that were working in the factories, back in their homes, and so they come back now, and I suppose what they're seeing is women taking on more roles within their churches, and even in fact leading the homes much more, seeing as how they were not, seems how they were not the ones that were afflicted with PTSD from the war. They didn't go to war, they didn't serve. It was the men that came home that now had to reacclimate themselves into normal life. And so you gradually saw men leave the church, and fundamentally it wasn't also only that being the case, but a lot of scientism and a lot of I guess the belief in the extraterrestrial and space, and stars and galaxies, and even the shape of our earth, might have led men to not feel as though, honestly, that there was a God, that the whole world was made by chance from a big bang, and we're just a speck in the cosmos. And so men lose their connection to God. They're not given answers to some of the fundamental questions that they have, as to why things are so out of control, or seem so out of control, in society and in the world with the wars, and then in science. And so men were gradually already leaving the church anyway. But what has happened, though, is that it seems like young men are flocking to church, which is quite interesting. Let's continue. But something has changed. A new survey reveals that the pattern has now reversed. Older Americans who left their childhood religion included a greater share of men than women. In the baby boomer or the baby boom generation, 57% who disaffiliated were men, while only 43% were women. And this is what I've noticed amongst the boomer generation. I've noticed that there are, in fact, yes, more women to men in churches. Gen Z adults have seen this pattern flip. 54% of Gen Z adults who left their formative religion are women, and 46% are men. Now, I find that fascinating, that the grandchildren of the baby boomer generation are the ones that are flocking back to the church. And this is something that I think is worth talking about and exploring as to what the reasons are, what this article is indicating. Let's continue. In this graphic, we see women outnumber men among the young adult leaving religion, and it seems like women are in fact more so leaving the church more, from the Gen Z demographic than men, which is crazy because for every other demographic, it's more men leaving the church, but this is flipped here in this generation, which is fascinating. Again, this is the Survey Center on American Life, and this is kind of looking at America primarily. Let's continue. So, even as rates of religious disaffiliation have risen, conservative churches have been able to hold on to their numbers, but they are facing more of an uphill battle keeping this current generation of women in the pews. 61% of Gen Z women identify as feminists. I guarantee that 61% or the vast majority of the 61% of these feminists were Kamala Harris supporters. I'm just saying that this is most likely and probably the case. In my estimation, I think this is the case, far greater than women from previous generations. Younger women are more concerned about the unequal treatment of women in American society and are more suspicious of institutions that uphold traditional social arrangements. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that, Gen Z women. There's nothing wrong at all with traditional values. In fact, it's actually more liberating to be someone who, rather than someone who is trying to take away the jobs of able-bodied men, to be entrepreneurs selling your brand. There's all kinds of different ways you can sell your brand. If you're an artist, you can sell your art. Visual art, for example, is such a great opportunity. There's such a great and hidden opportunity in that, to be doing commissioned work. There are rich people out there who will still buy your art. And if you even advertise yourself using social media, we now have video platforms. You guys take this for granted. 25 years ago, this wasn't the case. And so we have that. Maybe you're a musician and you can, advertise yourself out there as a musician and teach courses to people, or present your how you play your instrument in a unique way to other people. And I'm talking to the women out here. We can be entrepreneurs. You could learn to sew, and you could sell your stuff. You could sell your work. You could just, take orders and stuff and sell yourself. Like, there's so many, sell yourself, and legally I'm talking about. But, be an entrepreneur. That is who the virtuous woman in Proverbs 31 is. She's a enterprising woman who is out there looking about land. You can go into real estate. That's an awesome place to definitely make your mark. We don't have to be taking away from the jobs of able-bodied men, and there is nothing wrong with traditional roles. In fact, why is it that nobody goes after Orthodox Jews or Muslims for this? It's so strange and disconcerting to see the church, the Christian church, being attacked on an account of standing fast, holding fast to traditional values that are biblical. But let's continue.